Good afternoon, good people, and welcome back to another episode of Troyism. I'm Troy, of course, and this is episode 9. Um, a lot of stories, man. A lot. Episode 9, you know what? I'll save that for the end of the show. Um, but as we get closer to the end of the season, I just want you to know that I thank you. I thank you for engaging. I also thank you for tuning in, being consistent, reaching out to me as we grow and continue to grow this show and grow this platform. I really appreciate you for being here. So, like I said, I'll save a lot of that for episode 9. And then, of course, when we get to episode 10. But right now, let's do some circle backs and then we'll get into our bigger stories. So, first and foremost, let's talk about the federalization in DC at the request of President Trump, of course. So just to give you an update on it, if you caught last week's show, I won't go into like the breakdown or whatever. But so at this point, we have had 383 total arrests, with 164 of them being immigration status related. So once again, we've fallen. Well, we haven't fallen for the banana in the tailpipe, but the president has once again lied to us and told us that this was strictly about the crime in DC. Now, I'll hold out for him to create some correlation between immigration and crime. I'm sure that's coming because this administration seems to do shit and then create the reason and the narrative after the fact. And that's the narrative that best serves them at the moment. So I won't get into the correlation between that, but right now we're up to 383 arrests. We simultaneously also see that a lot of the local DC residents, not just black, of all colors, are recording videos of them just out and about. And they're showing how, of course, peaceful it is and no reason to deploy military into the District of Columbia. But they're also showing the coupling of several agencies, be it the DEA, the local DC Metro Police, as well as the National Guard, who are being deployed, quite like the LA stunt they pulled here a few months ago. So we're seeing a lot of that happen in DC. Generally, I would say if you have travel plans to DC and you can avoid them, especially if you're a person of any color, emphasis on black, I would push that back a little bit. Although I know people who live in DC and that's not immediately their reality, but they do acknowledge the presence, or rather unnecessary presence, of several military forces. First of all, militarizing the forces of the U.S. military against U.S. citizens is crazy anyway. I mean, think about it. The last time we did that was maybe George Floyd. And even then, it was clearly a bit excessive. We saw tons of lawsuits come out of that across the country where they used excessive force and they had to pay and they were sued several times over. So I don't know, man. Um, as it stands, like I said, the Home Rule Act only lasts for 30 days. So, but we already know that Trump is trying to extend the 30 days. Like I said, my tinfoil conspiracy. Ooh, is that a word? Conspiracy. I like it. Conspiracy. Either way, my tinfoil conspiracy theory is there's something else that they're not telling us, like the colonial woman on the wing. Um, and this is for a different reason than the crime. I don't think the crime is an issue. I think crime happens everywhere, especially in a general industrialized area where a lot of people come together to make a living and achieve their highest earning potential as well as opportunities. So that just kind of is par for the course. There's a lot of crime that happens here in LA, but generally overall crime is down, especially in comparison to the crime spikes we saw during the pandemic, which kind of align with people being out of work and not having steady income, and then the big business or industry here being shut down. So I think crime is something that will never evade us because if it did, then we wouldn't need law enforcement, right? But I do think this is an overreach, and I think this is one of those things we'll see. We already feel that it's an overreach, but we'll see later down the line that it was indeed an overreach on the basis of crime, and that it was more than likely a cover up for some shit Trump has done or that administration has done. and or preparing to do, and they're just trying to insulate their security. Because to me, that's how I look at it. I look at it as an increased security presence because some shit has either gone down or some shit's about to go down. But again, that's me with my tinfoil hat on. Shout out to my hat today. It is Prairie View A&M University. I know I often talk about my HBCU because I love it so dearly and I'm proud of it. You see the 1876. It is the second oldest institution of higher education in the state of Texas. So I love me some PVAMU, PV A&M University. I love Prairie View dearly. So today I'm repping Prairie View, which is great. I love it. But anyway, back to stories. Let's pivot a little bit as far as our circle backs. So, what circle back do we want to talk about? Oh, I didn't get into Epstein a lot last week, so let me give you an Epstein update because, like I said before, I will not stop talking about it. We are going to keep talking about it. Independents like myself, American citizens like myself, and then even when you get further left and start talking about Democrats, do not let this story, do not let this, I don't want to say issue, but do not let this go away because that's the hope. While I think DC could be used as a distraction, I don't think it's a distraction in itself. However, there is this theory that agitating the black community, because we just have a track record of protest and resistance in this country, is the best way to shift the narrative when it comes to the media. So that's not totally lost upon me. I just don't think that's what this is. Now I could be wrong, further down the line, when we get to, quarterbacking, but Monday morning quarterbacking rather. But I don't think that's what this is. But either way, back to Jeffrey Epstein. So the last update, we were talking about Ghislaine Maxwell being moved to a lower security or lower risk security jail. I don't even know if it's really jail. They say it's like Club Med, like Club Fed. Like they say it's better than Martha Stewart's setup. It's set up like a damn colony or a camp. I don't know what it is. I'll do more research. I really don't care, but I'm going to look into it just to report to you all, depending on how much longer this goes on, which I think that it will go on for a while because we want the truth and they are aiding, abetting, and covering up for people who get aroused by children. So either way, the Department of Justice has began handing over materials to Congress so that we can begin doing our subpoenas, or Congress can begin doing their subpoenas. Of course, most famously, we know that Bill Clinton as well as Hillary Clinton have been mentioned, which is crazy because that shows you the stark difference between the Democrats and the Republicans as it pertains to in this country. Again, I'm a registered independent, but and I promise one day I will tell you about how I did that because I registered initially as a Democrat. First president I ever voted for was John Kerry in 2004? I think that was Rock the Vote. Yeah, look how much shit has changed since then between Diddy doing the Rock the Vote campaign. Either way, vote or die. It wasn't Rock the Vote, it was vote or die. But either way, what was I on? What were we talking about, Troy? What were we talking about? Oh, Epstein. Yeah. So they're gonna hand they're gonna hand the materials over to Congress so that we could be doing the subpoenas. Nope, I was talking about the Clintons. So it's being suspected, highly suspected, that Bill and Hillary Clinton will be amongst the first to be subpoenaed by the House to give their account of connections to Jeffrey Epstein and this global child touching, global cabal of child touching, I guess, or chomos, whatever. Here's the difference between the Dems and the conservatives, though, or liberals and conservatives. Most liberals don't care. Like, they're not like protect Bill Clinton at all costs. I mean, we know how Bill got down from his impeachment. So we know how Bill moves, and granted, Monica Lewinsky was of age at the time, barely, but she was above age at the time. So we're not falling down on the train tracks trying to protect Bill Clinton. Hillary neither, for that matter. This is about justice. This is about accountability. This is about no one being above the law. And the problem is on the left, a lot of Democrats don't have a problem with whoever's on the list. It needs to come out. Where on the right, there's clearly this aiding, abetting, cover up. Let's distract. Let's switch the narrative. Let's talk about anything but the fact that we've become the party of protecting these type of acts. So be clear. We are not the same on this issue. The liberals are definitely like, I don't care who, if my mom's on the list, air it out. My mom's not on the list, but you know what I mean? Like, but if she were, air it out because prices need to be paid, even if it's my mom, you know? So that's where we are with Epstein. I'm not going to let this go. Oh, also with Ghislaine, let's give you some updates on this little colony she's in. So not only is she in a very, very, very low security operation, she's also been put on a work release type program where she can leave and come back. Now, this is eerily similar to what happened to Jeffrey Epstein when he was first brought up on charges in Florida, because he was first brought up on charges in Florida under, I believe, Pam Bundy at the time, who's the head of our Department of Justice. Do you see how this stuff is all like, yeah, you see how it's all connected? So Pam Bundy, who was the Attorney General, I believe, in Florida at the time, was the one who put Jeffrey Epstein on the work release program for the work he did, him and Ghislaine did between Mar-a-Lago and West Palm Beach. Because according to the late Virginia Giuffre, one of the, you've seen her, she's the one who had the picture with Prince. What's the prince's name? Is it Prince Albert? I don't think it's Prince Albert. What's Prince Albert? Oh, wait. Prince Albert is the thing you put in. Damn it. The prince. Queen Elizabeth's son. Him. Damn, his name is really escaping me. But either way, Prince Andrew. I said Albert. Don't judge me. If you know what a Prince Albert is, just don't. Let's stop. Let's move on. So, Prince Andrew, Virginia Giuffre, because she's most famously known for being the young woman in the picture with Prince Andrew from back in the day with Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the picture that's kind of been the poster or billboard for this entire situation. But either way, air it out. She's on a work release program, which is what Jeffrey Epstein was on in Florida. Like, he was going to jail during like 3 or 4 days a week, and then he was out on the weekends. Here's the thing. When you're a global trafficker, if I'm letting you out on work release, is the work trafficking? I'm letting you out to traffic on the weekends? I don't know. I got to dig into that more, because what exactly is she doing on the weekend in Texas? Either way. Last, this isn't really a circle back, but it's just kind of like on our radar. So I'll present it to you today, and then we'll, follow it should it grow. Hopefully not, because this is not a good story. But people in Harlem, where Harlem at? Where Harlem? You know what? The thing about Harlem is people from Harlem are always like extra. And I like it. Like extra. Like Showtime at the Apollo extra. Like Sandman extra. Like I feel like in Harlem all the women walk around like Kiki Shepard. Like the Apollo couldn't have been in Brooklyn. Like it's a very Harlem thing. So I want to shout out Harlem first, because Harlem is the I don't want to say uppity, because their word has been used against me, but we'll know that it's not an offense because it's been used against me as well. But Harlem is the uppity version of the boroughs or New York. Like Harlem, like you straighten it up. And those Harlem men, they like to dance, don't they? They be like the Harlem men like to. Harlem is unique. Harlem is very unique in itself. Speaking of Harlem, shout out to the series, the Amazon Prime series starring Megan Good. It was a really good show. It was just getting its wings, and then they clipped them. At least they wrapped it up. They rushed it, of course, but they wrapped it up beautifully for us. So shout out to the show Harlem. Shout out to the borough Harlem. Shout out to the people in Harlem. There we go. 15 minutes in. But this story about Harlem is not so great. So there's an outbreak, a health, not even a health scare, well, health scare, I guess, in Harlem going on. It's an outbreak. It's called Legionnaire's disease. First of all, Legionnaires. I have a friend, Tarika. Wasn't your dance squad in high school called the Legionnaires? Anybody who went to Jesse H. Jones in Houston, in South Park, I think y'all dancers were called the Legionnaires, which is interesting because this story is not about dancers. But anyway, Legionnaire's disease, it's a serious type of pneumonia or bacteria, and it's generally contracted through contaminated water mist. Well, there's been a Legionnaire's outbreak in Harlem. There's been 108 cases so far. 14 people have been hospitalized, and unfortunately, 5 people have died as of right now from the Legionnaire's bacteria. Right now, in tracking it, it has been tracked back to 12 water cooling towers, 2 of which were owned by the city, which means that Eric Adams, hopefully the mayor, is aware of this and is on top of this. Because right now we're at 5 dead, 108 cases, 14 hospitalized. So I'm assuming that, quite like COVID, it's probably not favoring those who have immunocompromised diseases or those who are older or have comorbidities. So just be very careful. Harlem right now, keep your eyes on it. We'll keep tracking it. Again, Legionnaire's outbreak. It comes from, it says contaminated water mist. When you think of sources like hot tubs or air conditioners or things like that. So I'm thinking it's probably along the lines of the AC units in the public housing. I don't know that for sure. The surface research I did initially didn't indicate that. They just tracked it back to the water coolers. So we'll keep an eye on Legionnaires going on in Harlem, but everyone be very careful. If you feel yourself having symptoms, flu-like symptoms, go to the hospital, go to an urgent care just to get it checked out, just to make sure that you haven't succumbed to that, especially if you live in public housing or any place, honestly, with central air or heating or anything like that. So keep it locked, and we will be back and get into our first big story of the day. Thanks. And we're back. Okay, let's get into our first story, which is a continuation, but this story has so many twists and turns, and it's kind of evolving into something greater. This kind of started, it started, of course, in Texas, and now it's kind of been this national rollout. So, of course, I'm talking about the battle for the redistricting and gerrymandering of the Texas House of Representative seats. After 2 weeks, Democrat House members fought a good fight. As we all know, they left the state of Texas in order to avoid having to vote on the redrawing of the maps. Now, these redrawing of the maps are designed to eliminate and reduce Democratic seats in the House of Representatives from the state of Texas. So after 2 weeks, the Democrats who did flee the state in order to not be quorum in order to vote have been advised from the Democratic Party to return. So they have. Soon as they got there, they had to sign paperwork and they were assigned their own state trooper so that they may not leave again. And also special shout out to Rep. Nicole Collier of Fort Worth, Texas. She is literally still sitting in the chambers because she refused to sign the paperwork in order to get her own personal state trooper. So shout out to you, Nicole Collier, for fighting to the very end of, I guess, this crazy 2 week saga. So I want to lay this out for you guys. So ultimately, it looks like the Republicans have won as it pertains to this battle in the state of Texas, which they have effectively, because now they will have to have the vote when the House session opens back up. The new redrawn maps to give the GOP more seats in the House will be ultimately approved simply because they're outnumbered. And they have to fast track this for March for the primaries. So it looks like they won the battle, but thank God they lost the war. The war is called California. So even though they've returned and they have been assigned their own state troopers, which is crazy, um, the state, what it did and how they will win the war is what they did do, or what they were able to do, was garner national attention to the point to where other states who could combat it, like Gavin Newsom in California or here in California. So now what's going to happen as an effect to that, because they will be passing, like I said, they will be passing this and Dems will be losing seats. Well, Gavin Newsom, and went about it very much a Democratic way. Gavin Newsom has now called a special election November 4th so that the voters, the tax-paying voters of California, can vote to decide if we will redraw the maps to combat what's happened in Texas. So even though we're fighting fire with fire, we're definitely doing it the Democratic way and allowing the people of California to have their voices and votes to be heard. Now, with that said, California is a blue state, so more than likely we will be redrawing these maps to combat and pick up, I believe it's 5 extra seats. And so what we're hoping for, we've heard some rumblings from, of course, J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, as well as Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York. So if this follows suit, then Republicans will get washed in the midterms as far as the House. Again, I state, they lose the House, and this president or this presidency and this administration with these erratic changes in this short period of time. Keep in mind, we're only 8 months in. So these erratic changes and policy changes and laws and undoing history and all we've collectively worked together, it stops, or at least it slows for his presidency. So this special election is possibly more important than our last 2 or 3 presidential elections. So I know we get up in the hyperbole of, oh, you have to vote because this could be your last, this matters more than anything. I'm telling you now, if you don't know me, hopefully you've gotten to know me over the past 9 episodes, and I say, trust me when I say, if you have never voted before, this midterm election, you will need to go out and let your voice be heard, because this could be the last election that you have. I know that Trump has said this before. He said it even on the campaign trail. He told his base, if you vote for me, you'll never have to vote again. Just vote for me this one last time and we'll be good. It'll be good from there. That should make you, that's unnerving in itself, that a presidential candidate at the time would tell his base on hot mic, live cameras, that you will never have to vote again if you vote for me this time, which is a direct affront to our democratic process. The fact that he said that so brazenly and so boldly, one points to fraud or voter manipulation, but I won't go down that road right now. What I will say is there's a plan in place, be it above or below the law, because I hate to break it to you, America, what they're doing right now is very much above the law. It's just very strategic. And we could say mean, but I don't know, how effective that word is right now. But it's very much above law at this point. So you need to let your voice be heard. We need to be registering people to vote who plan on voting against this. Hopefully there's enough people in the GOP base who've seen 8 months of this and decided that they don't want to sign up for another 3.5 years. But unfortunately, a lot of that base has bought in on the idea that their personal suffrage is just a small price to pay for the suffrage of those that they don't like or don't believe have a voice in this country or don't believe belong in this country. So yeah, this election, it's up there. It's pretty important. So put your political wig on, shake out your political wig, turn it around, and you need to be finding out how you can be active and how we can at least slow the hemorrhaging of democracy, because that's essentially what's happening here. To slide further down the scale, and the reason why this wasn't a circle back, because this story has layers. So in addition to calling a special election to be held November 4th in the state of California to vote on redrawing the maps to free up Democratic seats, Governor Gavin Newsom has hit his stride and made it known that he is a contender for the presidential race in 2028. He has been, or the office of the California, the office of the governor of the state of California, their social media accounts have been constructing. I don't know if you've seen these or not, and I'll place one. I'll place one up here somewhere. But they have been basically constructing tweets that read like Trump tweets. First of all, they're in all caps. They're self-aggrandizing, of course, like all Trump tweets. And then he finishes them all off with, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." So if you've paid attention to any of Trump's Truth Social tweets, as well as the ones, I guess, that get reposted onto Twitter and other social media platforms, you know that he always signs off like it's a damn email saying, "Thank you for your attention to this matter." So Gavin Newsom has been trolling him not only with recreating his style of tweets, but they've been creating AI memes with Gavin Newsom with a bear, and I'm going to drop a few. I'll drop a few here. But they have been just really kind of beating him at his own game. And I'll say this, Democrats, this is a very solid start. It's kind of eerily similar to Kamala Harris's campaign when they were saying the whole weird, as far as labeling J.D. Vance and the whole entire administration is weird. It's definitely a presence for what we need right now. It's not enough to seal the deal, though. And I want to be clear on that. This is definitely a step in the right direction. We need a psycho, and no disrespect to Gavin Newsom, but he knows, hopefully he knows, you definitely give a little Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, which I can appreciate. I appreciate before this. I've been a fan of Gavin Newsom since he was the mayor of San Francisco, just because he was so bold and so dynamic and so interested in not following the status quo in order to achieve new results and a better future. So I've been sold on Gavin Newsom for a very long time. But what I will say is, being the American Psycho is not enough to win back America, Governor Newsom. So what we will need in addition to that is we will need a full flushed out policy. We will need a full flushed out return to the heart and soul of what it means to be a Democrat in this country, which is the value of restoring normalcy and the pursuit of the American dream for the working and lower class families, working and lower class Americans. And that's across the aisle. That's one thing that people try to, minimize Joe Biden, but Joe Biden did that better than anyone. And he taught Obama how to do it. That was the big purpose of his administration, was he taught Obama how to meet people in the middle without selling your soul and selling democracy. Gavin Newsom also does that is capable of doing that very well. So we will need to see more of that. Great momentum, though. I'm definitely not shitting on the momentum. What I will say, though, is, and this is to the Democrats in general, because I need you to understand that while people dislike the things that the Trump administration are doing in the country, they are still very iffy and not pleased with what you've been doing essentially since the pandemic and a little bit before. I hate to break it to you, Democrats, but woke has become your racism. So you know how racism has become like a cultural identifier of the GOP. GOP, if you don't know that, yeah, we liken you with racism. There's this saying that while every Republican is not racist, every racist is Republican. Well, Dems, it's your turn, and it's while every Democrat is not woke, every woke person is a Democrat, or at least far liberal leaning. And so with that, I'm not saying that to admonish you. What I'm simply saying is you have your own label to work around. I don't care if you're woke or not. We've already talked about the definition of woke versus how it shows up in the public lexicon. But what you will have to do is you will have to find a way to honor the progressive nature of the Democratic Party, because I don't think progressive is a bad word like everybody tries to make it. But you will have to acknowledge that has become your scarlet letter, and woke is what you will have to bear, to where you don't alienate those people who are awakened and imagine a better future, because that's what it's really about. Self-awareness, that's what woke is about. Woke is being self-aware to how you play into the roles of society, further disenfranchising minority groups. That's what woke is about. It's about being aware of yourself on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, so that you don't go out into the world fucking over people like you've been fucked up to feel validated. That's what woke is about in its root, in its core, from the black community. Don't ask me, ask Erykah Badu. She'll tell you. But what woke has become, which is what you'll have to tackle, is this green and orange dyed hair. Everybody use the same bathroom. Women and men and women sports, which couldn't be further from the truth. Um, but and even if it were true, it's a small fraction that they've highlighted on the right on a big screen so that they can label you. And if I say a glove is a glove, then on the other side of that, that's essentially what the Democrats have done to Republicans in the sense of racism. You have labeled everything and everyone with certain values as racist, and those chickens have come home to roost because now you have to uphold the awakenedness of being better stewards in society, which is woke, but you have to dispel all of the negative connotations placed on woke by the right. So now you're at a stalemate. You actually had the moral high ground, but now woke has become your scourge. But there's hope for you, Democrats, because just like they tried to do you with Antifa and all of these other groups, the same thing they try to do with Black Lives Matter, it never really holds because once you get to the core of it, you see it's just people who grew sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so they went a little radical to balance out society and maintain normalcy. So don't fret. Just know that the work is cut out for you. Hopefully, like I said, Illinois and other Democratic states, you need to get on board. Stop sitting on your damn hands and get to work. If you're out there mobilizing, getting people registered to vote that maybe didn't vote but now feel the effects of this, maybe you have some people who in this short 8 months see that what they voted for is not necessarily what they signed up for. You need to be in the field. You need to be off the porch, in the mud, getting it out the mud, getting some energizing your Democratic base. Because I'll tell you this, on the side of tech, on the side of AI, as they lean more conservative, and they're not conservative. This is more about a power grab, and the conservatives are an easier route just because Democrats tend to be smarter and more formally educated. So going through the Republican route is just easier, i.e. why Trump chose to run as a Republican. Hate to say it, Republicans, not really, but you are you're the easy person. You're the person that people know they can sleep with. You're not the person that they marry. You're the person that they know they can hit, and then they put the work in for the one that they want on their arm. That's who you are as a party. So all of these people are piling into your party because they know if you just want support. So if they just give you support, you'll sign up for anything they're saying, and that's why you're in the position you're in. But this next story has something for that. I'll save that because these two stories are kind of entangled, so to speak. But good work, Governor Newsom. Keep it up. Other Democratic people in general, Democratic Party in general, but Democratic lawmakers and officials, it's time to do the work. Get into the work. This is the fight for your party's soul, and it's the fight for the soul of this country. So you have work cut out to do, and I'll be here the whole damn time after the break or at the start of season 2. I'll be here with a few co-hosts, and we'll be navigating and narrating this shit all the way through. But you have work to do, and we will hold you accountable because the future and the next few generations depend on it. So sit tight, and we will get into our next story, which, like I said, is somehow related to this, but a little bit funner or more entertaining. Sit tight. All right, and we are back. Okay, so like I said in the last segment, this story will tie into, not necessarily tie into, but it's a good segue. And it's still under the theme of the two-party system in this country and it's under the theme of black people living in this country and how we got to this point. So, without further ado, and I won't wax on or preface poetically, rather, not wax on, but preface poetically. Well, actually, I will a little bit. That's one thing that I'm working on is I've always felt the need to preface just because sometimes my delivery can be like a brick, and so it can be. I've been told I'm can be harsh or a little too direct, or sometimes intimidating, or whatever. But I often preface the story, kind of try to make for a soft landing. So as I've gotten older, and I think this just comes with growing older, because if you look at like some 70 or 80-year-olds, they don't give a fuck, you know. But as I get older, I preface a lot less just because I've worked on delivering the message as a gentle brick, so to speak. Kind of like a brick, but kind of gentle. And so I work on that just so that I don't preface a lot. Because I feel like when I preface too much, it feels like I'm like bullshitting, which is kind of how this feels right now. So I'll just get into the story. I just wanted to tell y'all my thought process behind when I like preface, if you see me prefacing in a story, which I've been doing all season for the most part, um, part of it's me trying to set the story up for you, but the other part is me, in essence, trying to preface it or soften the blow for you. So I will work to preface less and try my best to set the stories up without the preface. Either way, that was about a 2.5 or 3 minute preface. Hopefully, my final preface. Either way, this story is about Amanda Seales. At this point, I'm sure everybody's talking about it. Social media is talking about it. And one thing I will say is when I think about this moment for Amanda Seales, it automatically shoots me back to that prolific moment she had with Caitlyn Jenner on, I believe it was like Celebrity Big Brother or something, where she pretty much espoused to Caitlyn Jenner at the time that your reality in this country is not my reality in this country. And I feel like while she's always been that Amanda Seales, I believe the Amanda Seales we've come to know, and I guess love or hate. I don't think anybody really hates Amanda Seales. Maybe annoyed by Amanda Seales, but I don't think you hate her. I love Amanda Seales. She, to me, she's the modern day Zora Neale Hurston. Uh, just a ball of art, a ball of chaos, but extremely well meaning as it relates to the progression of the black or African American race in this country and abroad. So I hold Amanda Seales in the regard of a Zora Neale Hurston, because what happened or happens to Amanda Seales often is what happened to Zora Neale Hurston, where her messaging, while it was for the betterment of black Americans at that time, it wasn't the normal trajectory. And so she had black people attacking her for not being on brand with their message, while her message was still equality. Her message was just more of liberation and not assimilation. But either way, that wasn't a preface. That was just me giving you a little history because a lot of people don't know a lot of shit. Uh, Also, she had a long-standing feud with Langston Hughes. Crazy. Either way, uh, Zora. So I said Amanda Seales is our modern day, for me, Zora Neale Hurston. So as of late, our modern day Zora Neale Hurston went on the famous 20 versus 1 show on Jubilee, where one person with an opposing opinion sits down and a circle of 20 are allowed to challenge them on their points. So Amanda, who was labeled the radical, which the fact that black liberation is radical should like it should bring up red flags in itself. Like labeling her radical because her message is about black awareness and black progressiveness in this country and black people acknowledging their history so that they don't repeat it, and equity as well as equality for black Americans, and then black people across the diaspora in this country and the world abroad. Like the fact that equality for black people is radical should raise like it. That should sound the alarm in by itself. But either way, Amanda Seals, and I don't even know how she feels about the title radical, but for me, that's concerning because it's just like, what? But either way, moving forward, I realize I say either way and effectively. Those are my words. Either way, effectively. So she sat down with them, and I'll paraphrase her arguments, but one was on systemic racism being a real thing in this country. She also talked about redlining. She also talked about reparations. I mean, the tentpole issues of being a black American in this country and the topics that most politicians avoid on both sides of the aisle. Well, GOP, they don't avoid it. They just flat out tell you, hell no, reparations aren't going to happen. Where liberals, they dance around it enough to get your votes. Welcome to a two-party system, which she doesn't support as well. But either way, she was surrounded by 20 black conservatives. Notably, most of them were relatively younger than her. She even referenced one and told them, watch how you handle me because I could be your mother. Like, talk to me like you talk to your mom. Like, son, don't get up here and, like, don't get too fresh with it. Don't get too... And I believe that Amanda Seals will punch you on camera. Either way. So she sat with them, and it was very interesting. You can check it out. It's for free on YouTube. It's about an hour and a half, and you just watch these young black conservatives challenge her point of view on reparations, on systemic racism, on redlining, on DEI, on BLM, on all these things. And you hear these conservative, often reserved for racist or white people talking points coming out of the mouth of black Americans, young black Americans, and it can be a little jarring at first. But I'm one of those people, and I said this earlier in the season about, I think I was referencing Candace Owens, but I was saying I hold space for primarily black women to show up however they want. I used the word broken before, which I don't want to label them broken, which is kind of, because that's kind of how we got here. But I do want to say that I hold space for black women primarily, but just black people and black Americans in general to show up how you show up, because so often we're put in this narrow little box of how we have to behave, and that's within the community and the world and the country and world abroad. So either way, I said all that to say, with these young black conservatives, I'm going to champion intelligence and the betterment of black Americans, no matter where the messaging comes from. Clearly, a lot of these talking points of these young people were passed on. They sound like a damn Candace Owens think tank, like the worst parts of Candace Owens think tank. So brace yourselves for that. Don't allow yourselves to be triggered by it. I think black people holding intellectual conversation is always a win, even if the point of views are, far right leaning. I think us being able to come together and have those conversations are very important, especially right now. As one of the young men, I don't remember his name. I think it was John Jones or Sam Jones or John Samuel. I don't remember. The guy with the handlebar mustache. And before I get into what he said, I kind of want to take up for him a little bit. I saw a thread or a comment going around on Twitter, and they were attacking his appearance because he had the handlebar mustache. He had the Roman J. Israel afro. He was wearing a blazer, but under the blazer he had on a dashiki, and then he had on some Benjamin Banneker type glasses. Either way, I did all that just to give you a descriptive. You can go and watch it. I actually would like for you to watch it, but you can go and watch it. I gave you a descriptor of who he was because that's what he was being attacked on. He was being attacked on his appearance, and I want to challenge this to the liberal leaning, and I guess I'll say radical, so to speak, black Americans. If black is not a monolith, then we can't be monolithic when it comes to ideas, even when they don't align with ours. We can't be monolithic when it comes to talking about people's appearance and how they align. Now, sure, there's some cultural indicators and societal indicators of people that are good fodder and playful jokes. But I don't want us to reduce people to their appearance, because there was another thread going around. It was like every man in that video didn't have an edge up or a lineup or whatever, an edge up. And so it kind of lets you know what kind of type of time they're on. Now that's funny around on the surface. But once we get into conversations like this during a time like this, it's very important that we don't get lost in these identifiers, these physical aesthetic identifiers, and we don't hear what these people have to say, because that further divides us. It further isolates us, because although he had some very wild points, which I just reduced to Republican GOP talking points, what he did say in the end, which I think Amanda respected as well as I know I respected, was he said, we have different viewpoints, but it's very clear that our objective is the same, and it's the advancement of Black Americans in this country and across the diaspora in this country. And so while he may not agree with reparations, which is wild to me, he did agree that there are measures that need to be put in place. And that was generally the sentiment. There was no one there, thank God, throwing away the Black community or throwing away the Black community as it exists or as it shows up. They definitely threw away the Democratic Party and said that there needs to be an exodus from the Democratic Party of Black people, because they felt like, the general trope, they feel like the Democratic Party uses the Black American experience to get votes and kind of make us the tent pole, or but put us out front as the symbol of hope and freedom for all who feel oppressed and disenfranchised. So there's an argument to be made there. I'm not a Democrat, but there is an argument to be made there for that. Because I do feel like when it comes to the Democratic Party, the needs of Black Americans, while touted as the primary talking points on the campaign, are often shuffled to the bottom when it comes to fulfilling those campaign promises and legislature. The only time it seems like we get advancement in this country is if we're lumped in to another initiative and then shuffled to the bottom, so we're the least of the recipients of that legislature and those societal changes. But I could talk about that for hours. Let's get back to Amanda and this generation. What I will say is I appreciate that they are, and it had some, heated moments, as you would expect, but it generally stayed respectful. Shout out to Amanda Seals. All in all, she ate their ass up. She ate them up. She talked them into circles. She established her presence. She established that she would not be disrespected on this platform. And one thing she made abundantly clear, which I'm going to drop the clip in just because that's how it stood and that's my sentiment 100%. She kind of called them out, because we found out that a lot of some of the Black American representatives on that 20v1 were children of immigrants and immigrants themselves. Notably, one guy said he was from Angola, his parents were from Angola, and he was raised in Florida. Not to diminish his American experience or point of view, because for all intents and purposes, he shows up outside of the Black community. He shows up as a Black man. No one's looking and saying, oh, he's not Black, he's from Angola. They're not doing that. So the general population at large is not doing that. I wanted to clarify that. But what she did outline, which I thought was great, was she outlined that no one of immigrant status or descent, no matter what your color are, can come here and speak to and judge and assign meaning to what it means to be Black and American in this country, born into this country with the history that comes with being Black and American in this country. So she outlined that very well, and I'm going to pop the clip in here so that you can see exactly how she said it, because it was perfect. It was perfect to the point to where it wasn't divisive, but it was very much put some respect on my name. Very Birdman of her. She gave a very Birdman response to that. It was very good. And so with that, I'll get away from it because I don't want to give too much of it away. It just dropped, and I really would like you to watch it, to digest it, and even come back to the comments and tell me what you thought about it if you like, or just reach out to me. We can talk one on one about it. But uh, goes to our bigger issue, and this is where I kind of here we go. So we have some cracks in the black community. And of course, again, back to the point of Republican talking points, they often said things like, well, what about black on black crime? Just anything you've ever heard a Republican say about black people, they would just filter through these black bodies. So you will know what to expect from the talking points because that's where they go. But what I want to say on a bigger picture and kind of back out and move higher level to this is one, I missed the Grapevine. If you don't know about the Grapevine was a show that came on YouTube and it had black Americans, but it also had black people and just other people across all cultures and across the diaspora, primarily black or the African diaspora. And they did this very thing. They talked about current topics, and we are so in dire need of that. This 20v1 was very good for that because it was very reminiscent of that for me, because The Grapevine was one of my favorite shows. But we need to bring it back to where we talk. I mean, they talked about everything. They talked about, at the time, they talked about Bill Cosby's legacy. Of course, they talked about Trumpism. They talked about being a black Trump supporter. They had dudes in there with MAGA hats on. I mean, it got wild on The Grapevine, but we definitely needed it. So back to blowing it up in the higher regard of the bigger picture is black people, we need a space and we need a place where we're talking to one another across the aisle. We're talking to one another across these societal things that are created to keep us apart. We have to be able to have the tough conversations with one another, and we have to be able to understand that as long as the goal is progressive and a better future for black people in this country and the world abroad, then we can figure out and we can work through the nuance of the part or party we think can deliver that for us. Because one thing the brother with the handlebar mustache was saying that I did agree with, hence I'm an independent, is that ultimately I could see you just black people just moving away from both parties, holding your own block, and let them fight over you. Every election cycle, let them both fight over you. Let them both fight over you because the ultimate goal is who is going to deliver on the goods. Now, historically, a lot of people are with Democrats because in modern history, and I know there was a switcheroo at the turn of this last century. However, Democrats have done more for black people than the Republican Party has easily in the last 100 years. Easily. Job creation, social programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion, making college, somewhat more affordable, making college, making a college education a reality where it once wasn't. I don't know much how much of a benefit it is now given our current administration, but the Democratic Party has held the black community down in a lot of amazing ways over the last century. However, like I said at the top of this segment, we've seen where black people have been shuffled down to the bottom of this group of historically disenfranchised, and now we're just the poster child and not necessarily the recipients of the actual change at the level in which it used to be. If you compare what we got from the US government in 1960 versus what we're getting from the US government in 2025, while there has been some advancements, you can definitely see it's a mosh pit of of disenfranchised people trying to get what they can for their voting blocks. And in that shuffle, black people usually end up at the bottom or closer to the bottom. So check out the 20v1. It was really good. A very good starting point for some if you want to understand the black diaspora in this country as well as the African diaspora and how black immigrants fit into that picture and how we run into strife or issues. I mean, it really unpacks the black experience in an hour and a half in this country as it relates to politics. So check that out. It was really good. So let's do this. Let's take a breather because that was a pretty long segment. And then we'll come back and we'll wrap up show 9. All righty. And we're back. So, end of episode 9. There was a lot of heavy topics on this one. However, it was good, man. It was really good, especially on that part about the 20v1. I didn't want to give too many spoilers, but I did want to give you enough for you to go check it out for yourself. I think that's one of those things, or it's one of those moments, as you can already see on social media. I mean, people are talking about it, good, bad, or indifferent. I think while she didn't need any redeeming qualities with me, Amanda Seales got a lot of redeeming qualities for people who had kind of written her off, be it Instagram, I mean, not Instagram, Insecure or whatever all that stuff was about. I don't even want to bring it up. But she proved to be the Amanda Seales I always knew she was. She's a very intelligent woman. She's highly educated, and she generally cares about the betterment of her people, not just in this country, but across the diaspora. And I'll even say even more so about Amanda Seales. She cares about the suffrage of people around the world. And so, like I said, modern day Zora Neale Hurston for me. Modern day Zora Neale Hurston as far as that goes. So I have a bit of, I don't know if it's a surprise or if it's some news or whatever. So in the effort of getting on to season 2, which I'm very excited about, but I'm also excited about this break. Can't lie to you, I'm gonna be outside a little bit. And like I said a few episodes ago, and just go up and soak up some life experiences. Right now, like I said, I've used my morning gym crew to turn them into like my think tank where we have conversations about what's going on in the world. But I also want to just kind of go out into the world, check in with people, see what's going on, push this show a little bit more, try to build up the fan base a little bit more before we go into season 2. And so because we're doing that, tonight I have a bit of a surprise for you. This is not just episode 9. It's actually not episode 9. It is part 1 of the season finale. So we're actually going to keep this thing going, and I'm actually going to talk about some pop culture topics. We're going to just, we're going to have some fun here, man. I may even pour me up a drink. So I don't want to say, what do I say? Sit tight. I've never done, usually I'm wrapping it up and sending you on your way. You know what? Let's just get into it. So part 2 of the season finale of Troyism, also formerly known as episode 10, coming to you right now.